Viqueria is by now one of the best-known Italian micro-brands. I already had a chance to review the GMT version of their popular Calypso diver, so I was really intrigued about this new release, a similarly NH34 power GMT watch that this time seemed to have dialed everything up to 11. Before going over the details regarding its design, fit and finish, and wearing experience, it should be noted there's a total of 4 variants of the watch: Nero Verde, Nerazzurro, Oro Verde, and the Giallo Blue I'm holding. At the moment, the watches can be pre-ordered on Viqueria's website on a special price of €299, that's roughly $315, 28% of the $415 MSRP. A link to Viqueria's website will be provided in the description of this video. This is Viqueria Trecento. Before going into detail on Trecento's design, it should be noted this is a prototype. As such, a number of details will be changed in the production variant, notably fixing the model names printing and better alignment of the numbers printed on the bezel. The cushion case of this watch is a clear tribute paid to vintage divers. Looking at it, it's impossible not to think of Viqueria's famous compatriots, Panerai, yet there are plenty of design choices that would make confusing this watch for a PAM impossible. At 43 by 49.5mm, Trecento is a tank of a watch, and its broad footprint makes its profile look streamlined despite its 15mm height. Another big contributor to the perceived thinness of the watch is the elegant midsection that serves as the support of a very technical-looking coin-etched bezel. I really like the integration of the crown guards, where the top part is beveled to a mirror finish, adding a note of sophistication and offering an underrated solution to facilitating the use of the perfectly proportioned signed crown. Despite this being a GMT watch, the oversized markings on the bezel sapphire insert are consistent with diving, with the 24 hours GMT markings almost hidden on the shallow rehod. Looking at it from up top, it's plain to see how the dial of the watch dominates its construction. In fact, at 34mm across, this dial is the size of a regular-sized watch from 60 years ago. Despite that, the dial is actually quite balanced, and that's mainly due to a set of large hands. Reminding me of safety pins, the skeletonized hour and minute hands are legible in any lighting or angle and are pointing at classic circle and baton-shaped markers. There's also a modest cutout at 3 o'clock where the date is decently legible. Compared with this set of hands, the GMT indicator is underwhelming and not very practical. Finally, the bracelet of this watch is an unexpectedly high point. When getting it, I was 100% sure I'll end up wearing the watch on the complementary silicone strap, but I was pleasantly surprised at the quality of this bracelet and at the great job it does at balancing the watch physically and stylistically. The clasp is not refined and somewhat antiquated, but it's functional and safe. This is where Trecento stands out. It's so strange to have such a hefty 7-ounce watch feel so buttery smooth. I struggle to think of a better finished watch at this price point, and the polished accents on and around the crown and on the bracelet center links are as well executed as the satin brushing throughout. As for how everything comes together, despite a bit of play at one of the 2 end links, I have no complaints at all. Quite the opposite actually, as both the crown operation and the bezel action are some of the best I've ever experienced. Even the clasp, while rudimentary, has a balanced action. A third improvement Viqueria have announced for the production model is a better application of lume and I have no clue what they're talking about. I mean, just take a look at how this thing glows. What's there to improve on? This is as good an application of Superluminova BGW9 Lume as any. If anything, perhaps a couple of more anti-reflective coatings should help with the reflections generated by the single dome sapphire crystal. The engine powering this watch is Seiko's NH34 caliber. Pretty much the GMT variant of the trustworthy NH35, this movement will help its user track a secondary time zone, runs at 3 Hz and has a power reserve of roughly 40 hours. Size-wise, this watch wears exactly as it looks, as evidenced by these shots on my 19cm wrist. At close to 200 grams, this is one of the heaviest watches I've ever worn, yet its perfect balance means this is not a cumbersome wearing experience, but one that's somewhat luxurious. There's no wobble even when worn a bit loose, and the 2mm taper of the bracelet, as small as it is, goes long ways into streamlining it. Also, the fact that a good chunk of its 15mm height is due to the exhibition caseback means the watch wears quite flat. There's no versatility to speak of. Trecento is a sport watch, and any attempt to match it to a formal attire will backfire spectacularly. The supplied complementary silicone strap will give it an even more sporty character and will somehow make it look even bigger. Legibility is very good despite the occasional glare, but the GMT function is hard to use to say the least. This is one of the best divers at the $300 price point. Its fit and finish, bezel action and lume application are top-notch, and the wearing experience for a watch this size is surprisingly good even for me, a guy that steers clear of any watch whose diameter exceeds 41mm. As a GMT watch though, there's a lot to be desired. A longer GMT hand, bigger 24-hour markers and lume application on said markers would turn this excellent diver into a competent GMT watch. Thank you for watching. See you soon.